This is the best team building exercise based on happiness research and happiness at work for engagement and high performance. So let's get into that. Just so you know who I am, my name's Jackson Kirch. I'm the founder of Happiness Means Business and Warrior Leader Training Companies. I'm a former startup executive, Zen monk, and I created the world's first major in happiness. So the last few years, I've been taking that happiness and human flourishing research into organizations, teams, and individuals. So I've long believed that if you want to work well with a group or a team or an organization, you need to focus on understanding one another and have a lens on behavior. So here is a protocol or kind of an exercise that can set you up to do that more effectively. Get your team together, and you want to have, this is a Jeff Bezos-ism, not that he's, always the perfect leader or right about everything, but he has something called the 2 pizza rule. Basically, if you have like a team in any context, I'm not talking about an entire department, right? But like a team, he says you want to have like the 2 pizza rule. So it should be no bigger than the amount of people that can be fed by 2 pizzas. So what is that? I don't know. It's meant to be, is it about 8 people? Maybe it's a dozen people, but it's in that realm. Otherwise it gets to be a little bit too chaotic in terms of, again, we're talking about a working team here. If you're a massive organization, you're going to have more than that at a certain level or a certain department. We're just talking about that, again, that core work group or working team. So the first thing you want to understand for one another is you want to do, how are you at your best? What do you bring to the table? What is your unique skill set? So how you can accomplish this is a combination of a single open-ended question and then a strengths assessment. So let's talk about both of those. The strengths assessment, I recommend Gallup Strengths, which you can find, it's like $20 for a report. But if you don't want to spend the $20, go to VIA Strengths. And in either case, they're just giving you back a picture you at your best. And some of the ways I think about this is like what feels like fun to you, but like work to others. What are the certain skills and natural abilities that you're motivated to engage in at work? And when you do them, you're like really loving it and you're at your best. And then there's probably some things that are not your strengths that kind of suck and drain your energy. So you're identifying your strengths, and then you can have a single open-ended question there. Something like, what is your unique talent, skills, or experience that you bring to the team? And the reason it's nice to have that open-ended one is because the strengths assessment, if you do them, you'll see it's a little bit general. So really powerful, but for me, my top strengths are learner, which I'm a super learner nerd, as you can tell by all these books behind me and the fact that I then teach in video to a bunch of strangers on the internet. Super learner. I also have input, which again is an idea, like I like to gather information, mess around with it, turn it into theories and lessons and teachings. And then woo, which means I like to influence people or try to like win them over to my way of thinking. I find it really fun to go to a networking event and try to meet new people and make friends with them, which a lot of people don't. So they're a little bit more general, right? You think about applying them to your work, but this is an opportunity where you can bring in some more specific strengths, skills, or expertise. If I'm like really good at coding in R, or I'm really good at doing strategic planning analysis, like those aren't going to come up in those strengths assessment, but those are things that we'd want to know in terms of what each person is contributing to the team. So there you go. First thing is you want to capture each person, kind of creates their personal document. What are your strengths? And if you do the assessments, all you need are really the top 5, and then you have a line item in there for some of your other unique capabilities, interests, and skills. Second part of this, what are your values? Okay, if the strengths or sort of how you work and what you need to do to be at your best, your values are more your why. What's important to you both professionally and personally. So we have another assessment. If you go to happinessmeansbusiness.com/values tool, there's a little dash in there. So happinessmeansbusiness.com/values-tool. You can take it, it's free. You can also just basically journal it, okay? What is most important to you in your life? What values do you most admire in others? And again, you want to be a little bit more general here with values, because not just say, well, it's my family. That's great, but is it really your faith? Is it the love you have for them? Is it discipline? Is it intention? Is it generosity? Is it curiosity? You see, when you get it at more of a principles level, as opposed to focusing on something really specific like my family, right? It just tees up a little bit more of a deep understanding. So again, it can be more open-ended. Why do you work? What's important to you in terms of your best possible self? What traits or values or tendencies do you most admire in others and for yourself? Or, like I said, just do the values assessment. So I'll pause right here. You have an inventory right now for each person. What are your strengths and values? This is super, super important, because what the scientific research shows us about meaning, like big meaning, the meaning of life, the reason you get out of bed every morning, is it's really about using your unique strengths in alignment with something greater than you. That's a definition that comes from Dr. Marty Seligman, University of Pennsylvania. So we've just honed in on your unique strengths. Okay, we talked about what are your unique gifts, capabilities, and talents from that assessment, and then using them in service of something greater than you. That goes back to your values. What is the sort of broader mission in this world that you are aligned to? Is it about service? Is it about growth? Is it about accountability? Is it about being your best? Is it about love? Is it about abundance? You get what I mean, right? So if we have each person dialed in on those things, they have a recipe for bringing more meaning to their life and work. And then you all have a map for how to incorporate more meaning and engagement and work at your best with one another. Got it? All right, now we're on to the next part. I would encourage each person to share a little bit about what are your power hours or ideal ways of working. So to me, a power hour is this idea. I often distinguish between maker and manager, and sometimes in teams this can have different, point of conflict. Manager is like, 30-minute meeting. I'm switching all around, jumping everywhere. A maker is, if you're writing a book, you're not going to do it in little 30-minute chunks here and there, right? You need like 2 hours of really focused, deep work. So I want you to think about, as a working unit, your ways of working, how can you protect time for each person to really do the work they need to do instead of just managing the work they need to do? Because so often, right, it's like you have 7-hour-long Zoom meetings, you get to the end of the day, it's like, how do you expect me to actually get anything done around here? So this can be really simple. Maybe it's meeting Mondays. Okay, as a team, we're trying to do all of our meetings on Mondays. That frees up the rest of the week. It could be Monday, Wednesday, Friday are morning maker hours. So, hey, when you first get into the office, we each have 3 minutes. It's 3 hours. It's do not disturb. That's when we do our big project work. And similarly, if you have things that you guys want to consistently be making progress on as a team, but maybe you're not always consistent in making time for them, you can agree on that shared norm as well. So, hey, every Thursday is Development Thursday. So we're going to take 2 hours that afternoon, and that is time for each of us to focus on our own professional development. So take a coding course, sign up for a leadership webinar at the local university, read a book and report back to the group, right? So here's what I'm saying is, I call them sometimes power hours, when you're going to assign time for this important work. But more broadly, it's, hey, what are some of the ways we can get on the same page in terms of our ways of working? So that if you have someone who really has these deep project work that they have to do, and they know that their best time is 7 a.m. to 11 a.m., let them do it, and then you do a meeting in the afternoon. If you know that everyone's been saying, hey, as a team, we should get better at, our project management skills, then maybe you can say, okay, how about every Wednesday right after lunch for 45 minutes, we're gonna do a dedicated time to all work together on our project management skills. So you see what I mean? It's going beyond just, getting to understand one another and actually identifying the key behaviors and boundaries that you all want to honor together as a team. Okay, here's the last one. It's kind of optional. If you just do those 3, you'll be in a really good spot. But I would consider adding something like, each person just answers this question: what could go wrong for me on this team? I know that sounds like maybe a gotcha question or kind of tough, but it's really prompting a couple things. You want them to share their own weaknesses or gaps or even maybe pet peeves, if someone has something that it's like, a lot of people have these things, that these little things that it's like not a big deal, but it kind of really bothers you. Hey, you can show some vulnerability and share that. It also might be, hey, I'm not very good at this, or I feel like I'm still learning how to use this new software, so I might need some extra time with this. So it can take an internal focus, and it can also take a little bit of an external focus. So you may say, well, when I get unclear communication, that is really a challenge for me. Or when I feel like I am overwhelmed with too many things to do and too many commitments and I'm working 50 hours a week, that's gonna burn me out. So you're not using it as an opportunity to try to like take cheap shots and say, hey, I really hate having a bad boss. You know what I mean? That could go wrong. No, it's more just getting out ahead of how you want to engage and relate with others. So what are some of the things that people want to be mindful of as they engage with you? And you showing some vulnerability and humility, saying, here are maybe some of the things that I could be difficult with, or maybe some mistakes that I could make, or things that I feel like I need to develop. And again, that's going to create more vulnerability and shared understanding. So there you have it. You could probably do this whole thing in like 25 minutes of asynchronous work and then a 25-minute meeting together. Got to understand for each person, what are your strengths and values, right? That's where meaning at work comes from. What is your unique talent, strengths, and then expertise and skills you're bringing to the situation aligned with what's really important to you. That's your personal profile. Then we're going to agree on what are our protected time, behaviors, and boundaries. How do we work together? And then finally, we're going to talk about what could go wrong in terms of how you show up and how you relate to others. And if you go through this simple exercise and come back to it, because again, you're writing all this stuff out and discussing it, I think that's going to make for a really potent and powerful team experience. And you can come back to it, say, every other month or every quarter. So hope you enjoyed this video. As always, I share on this channel tools, skills, insights, ideas, stories about happiness at work and happiness in life. So happinessmeansbusiness.com/resources. You can find a bunch of free resources. Happinessmeansbusiness.com, just the website itself. You can find a bunch of not free resources because we do a ton of keynoting, organizational change, one-to-one executive coaching, etc. And if you want some other random nerdy thoughts from me, go to happinessphd.com and check out what you find there. So thank you for watching. Wishing you happiness and success. This has been Jackson Kirchis. I'll see you next time.